The end of One Piece Season 1, but the beginning of 2026. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to One Piece. Episodes 1154 and 1155, the final two episodes of the Egghead arc. And the final two episodes until April. So I've been talking about this. One Piece is going on break, and then after it comes back in April, it's going to be seasonal, which is something that One Piece has never done before. One Piece has been an ongoing series outside of taking some breaks here and there, whether a week or two, or even sometimes a little longer. It's been an ongoing series for the entire, 25 years it's been going on. And so suddenly, Toei decided, we're in the home stretch of this series. We're, really getting into the meat of things. Everything is being revealed. We're going to change this. Don't know why at this point, but we're going to change this into a seasonal show. And I think their reasons were basically stuff like, it gives us more time to work on it better. It'll allow us to make, the animation quality to be, as high quality as we can get the rest of this stuff, which I'm fine with that kind of stuff. Those are good reasons. But, I'm just worried that they're going to mess up the pacing. That's my biggest worry, because I feel like that's one of the big things that they're going to try to do here. They're going to try to match the pacing to the manga, and as much as I love Oda's work with the storytelling and the characters and everything, that is one thing that I always found that the Toei anime did better than the original manga. And I have read a good portion of the original manga. Not, most of it or anything, but I've talked about this before. I've read up to the end of Alabasta in the manga. I might have seen some, I've definitely seen some things after that, but I've never, actively read past that. I've seen, certain scenes and certain shots and whatnot in the manga past that, but that's as far as I actively read. And, like I was saying, I think it's better paced in the anime, because while most people I feel would disagree, I think that actually dragging it out helps with the narrative. It not only helps with the narrative, but the themes and ideas of this too. By having it more constricted, by having it more direct, it feels like it doesn't feel like an adventure. It doesn't feel free. It feels constricted. It feels like it's going by these restrictive, story beat, paint by number kind of things. You know what I mean? It feels so held back. But when you drag it out or elongate everything, it feels like you're really basking in the freedom of the adventure. It feels like you're really basking in the journey of it. It's something that I've always found hard to explain, but it feels grander. It feels more exciting. It feels more investing. You get more, at least I get more into the story when it's done like that. And Egghead has been an arc that has been my only real problem with it. I've loved the story, obviously. I've loved the emotional beats, and all of that, no matter how they change the pacing, will still obviously be there. But Egghead was way too quick. Egghead was, it felt like you were speed running everything. We got to the conflicts way too quickly. We got through those conflicts way too quickly. everything felt like it was speed running. And the only reason it like worked a little better here than it might have in other arcs is because this is the start of the final saga and we are getting all of these like big reveals, all of this crazy shit happening. It's it's like the start of the end game. And that allows it to feel like, yeah, things are speeding up in terms of the just vibe of the series. We've had this long journey and now we're kind of running towards the finale. And so it kind of works better at this point than it would at any other point. But it still felt rushed. It still felt like it was just like sped through without any like care. And I'm talking about the manga. I don't know how the, or I'm talking about the anime rather. I don't know how the manga exactly was paced compared to the anime, but I've heard that the anime for Egghead was um it was more on note with the manga. I heard that the anime was a lot closer to the pacing of the manga than like in previous arcs. And I don't know how true that is. I don't know like how close it was, but yeah, it's something that is noticeable. And again, it doesn't change the story beats. It doesn't change the big emotional moments. It's like this arc was still fantastic for all of that. But I feel like this arc probably would have been my new favorite arc, even beating out Wano, if it were paced better, in my eyes. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing, but well, I know it's not just a me thing. I have heard other people echo this. We're just in the vast minority here. And I know that because of that, that's why they would change it. It's like, oh, the vast majority of people do have issues with the pacing. So it's like, we're going to cater to those people since it is like, I don't know, 80, 85% of the fan base. Um, and it's just, I get it, but I don't know. I'm just worried, you know? I'm just worried that it's just not going to live up to like earlier stuff to me. Even with the again the great story beats and whatnot. I feel like if Oda continues to like really hit those story beats like and makes them even more exciting, makes them more intense, more impactful, that might balance it out a little bit, but I don't know, we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, so we're coming back in April. There's going to be a single core of that during the spring season of anime. And then there's going to be another break until we get to the next one, which is going to be like in the fall. So it's going to be spring, skipping the summer, and then fall. And I assume that's what they're planning on doing each year. I assume they're going to do that like every year going forward for now. So it's like you can guarantee we're not going to we're not going to finish Elbaf until probably like 2032 or something because like with this pacing it's going to be practically impossible to. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Um but one other thing to note. You are watching this obviously beginning of 2026. Welcome to the new year. And you may be watching this on Patreon. Whether you are watching this on Patreon or YouTube, I hope that you're excited for what's to come. This is our first reaction in 2026, and it's just a kind of a carryover since the last two episodes of One Piece didn't air until after I took my break. So yeah, it's a matter of I couldn't get to these before I took my break, and so they're kind of just a holdover. They're not part of like the regular Monday through Friday one show a week schedule we have going on for the new year. It's more along the lines of we're finishing this out. It's an extra reaction at the beginning of the new year, basically. And another note for you, again, whether you are watching on Patreon or YouTube, there will actually be two links to the reactions. Each episode will be linked separately because I'm going to be recording them separately. Uh, Even though I'm on my break, I'm actually recording this currently on the Monday after this first episode, 1154, came out. I'm trying to get to it right away, and then I'm going to get to 1155 right away. But since I'm recording them separately, yeah. And because of this, the afterthoughts you'll notice are different too, because the afterthoughts are going to be based more around like with this reaction specifically. There's going to be two sets of afterthoughts, basically one for 1154, one for 1155. Because if I don't record afterthoughts right today for 1154, I'll just forget. I'll forget to mention it when I do 1155. So there's going to be two sets of afterthoughts for each episode. The episodes will be linked separately. So maybe the best idea is to watch one episode, come back here, watch the first set of afterthoughts, and then, you know, so on and so forth. I don't know how Patreon is going to work with, like, I don't think it's going to have, like, the same timestamp kind of situation as YouTube, obviously. I'll still leave timestamps in the description. I don't know how exactly it's going to work. So you'll just have to check the description on Patreon to find the exact time placement for the redirect stuff. Because that's how we're still doing it with Patreon. We're still going to put the redirect onto the Patreon, and then we're going to have the reaction still hosted on Rumble. Um, because I don't know how, like, I don't know if like Patreon has its like own player, and I don't know how it would do with copyrighted content. So I feel like it would be safer if we're going to have the copyrighted content to still redirect it. You'll still get to see it early, obviously, because only people with the link will be able to see it. So you'll still, those on Patreon still get to see it a week earlier than everyone on YouTube. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, you still get to see the full thing. Both parties will get to see the full thing no matter what. That's not changing. It's still redirected. Just because, again, I don't know how Patreon handles stuff like that. I've I've obviously watched some Patreon stuff over the years, and some people put reactions on the Patreon, some people don't. I've seen some people actually still redirect it just for the sake of, ease and all. And some people put like their reactions on Patreon but don't have the video in the reaction. You have to sync up your own copy, which I'm not doing that. For multiple reasons, I feel like that would just be difficult. But either way, I feel like these pre-thoughts have gone on quite a while. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments either on Patreon or YouTube, whichever you're watching on. If you have any ideas for how to improve on the Patreon, please feel free to leave those as well. I am very new at this. I'm still figuring this out. Um, and if you want to donate for the Patreon, if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, link it, and if you're on YouTube currently, link is in the description below. There's multiple tiers you can subscribe to. Each have their own perks, from getting to see movie reactions, show reactions early, voting on exclusive polls, getting to have me react to specific stuff you want me to react to, and so on and so forth. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna get this started because these pre-thoughts have gone on way too long. But it is the first reaction of the year. There's quite a bit I had to say. Had to mention the Patreon and everything. But yeah, I didn't even really talk about what happened last time. Um, The Gorosei were defeated and ran away. Emmett used Joy Boys hockey, kind of finishing him off too, because it's like that was what was keeping him together, it seemed. Um, and yeah, just we're in the process of escaping. So we're in the backswing. These are the final two episodes of Egghead. Let's see how this goes. Let's get this going. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back with the afterthoughts for specifically 1154. As I said, the afterthoughts for 1154 and 1155 will be separate due to recording at separate times. But we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. And sorry if you hear in the background, by the way, any like crashing or rumbling. That's our washing machine. I have some laundry going. So sorry if that's picking up for you guys, because I can hear it quite a bit. Anyway. So this episode, 1154, was pretty much the aftermath of everything. It was like showing us the different perspective of like how Vegapunk found all of this out and forgot it, and how like this went down from his perspective. How he even knew that he had to die in order for something to happen. He didn't quite know what, but in order for things to progress, he knew that it needed to happen, as much as he didn't want it to. And through this episode, we saw like the Straw Hats and the Giants finally leaving Egghead, their full escape, heading to Elbaf. We saw Sentomaru leaving the island. He's good, which is very good. I'm glad he's okay. But the one who's not okay is Kizaru, Borsellino, who had a full-on breakdown and snapped at Sakazuki, rightly so, for even suggesting that he didn't put his all into this. Because the fact that he did is destroying him. The fact that Kizaru put everything into this, that he took it seriously, that he went all out, is emotionally wrecking him. Because he killed his best friend. Like, Vegapunk was his best friend, and he killed him. And there's nothing he can do about that. He sees himself as the bad guy. And he knows that what he did was wrong. But he also feels that he can't go against the Marines and the world government. He feels like he had no choice in the matter. Kizaru is a very fascinating character because he's so, like, middle of the road, I guess you could say. I wouldn't consider Kizaru, like, straight up a good guy or straight up a bad guy. He's a very nuanced enemy who tends to be, who tends to have a lot of good moral and ethical high ground to him, but at the same time is willing to do things he knows is wrong. And will not argue it, will not fight against it. He's the kind of person who is just following orders. Which still makes him guilty of enacting those orders. Still makes him guilty of what the world government and the Marines are doing. But he is one of those guys who doesn't believe in what he's doing, but is too afraid to actually speak out or act out against it. And it's a very complex thing. like I said, it does make him guilty, but does it make him a bad person? And that's kind of the big question in regards to Kizaru that I find the most interesting. I would say no. I would say that Kizaru is not a bad person, but again, I wouldn't say he's a good person either. I would say that he is morally gray. He is right in the middle. He is smack dab in centrist territory. He's not a good person. He can't be with the kind of stuff he's done. But I wouldn't call him a bad person either, because he clearly recognizes the stuff he's done and is doing is bad, and he clearly recognizes that he's in the wrong for doing so. It's just a matter of how do you view a person who refuses to take a stand against that and instead just meekly accepts it. Meekly accepts that this is the truth of the world and that there's nothing he can do to stop it. There's nothing he can do to change it. There's nothing he can do to make a difference. Because it's like, with the original three admirals, you see every side of this. You see Sakazuki Akenu, who is like justice on a front of pure, like, not acceptance, but like, what would be a good word for it? Pure, like, he's just siding with it. He agrees. Pure agreement, I guess, works. He agrees with the kind of hellfire and brimstone level view on pirates, and fully believes that the world government and the Navy can't do anything wrong simply because they're going after the pirates, who are, in his eyes, the bad ones, no matter what. He believes in absolutionism. The pirates are absolutely bad. The Marines and world government are absolutely good. There is no gray area in his mind, which is obviously extremely dangerous and fucked up. Sakazuki is without question the worst of the admirals because he is unquestionably a horribly evil person. There's no getting around it. His entire ideology is evil. Like, by nature. Well, we don't know if it's a natural ideology he just has, or if it is something that was, like, nurtured into him, whether through the world government or something else happening. We don't know. But it is his belief, and it is something that he is very, like, stood behind. There is nothing that's going to change his mind. On the other side, you have Kuzan, who left the Navy. He left the Marines. He left the world government completely because he couldn't see himself working under Sakazuki. He disagreed so vehemently with that kind of justice. I think the official term for Kuzan's justice was lazy justice, to where it's like he just doesn't argue, he just goes with the flow and everything. But I would actually say that doesn't really feel like him at all. Kuzan is a person who has served, the world government and the Marines and everything, but has been shown, like, all the time, constantly, that he not only doesn't agree with them, but will take action. That's not lazy. Honestly, Kizaru is more of the lazy one. I think Oda just gave the lazy justice term to him because he's kind of like a little bit of a slacker, and he will doze off and stuff. And like the first time we meet him, he's kind of just snoozing behind a rock. But it's like, I don't feel like that fits his justice. Like, I feel like Kuzan, formerly Aokiji, is more of like true justice. even if that goes against the world government. That's why he let Saul live, as we now know. That's why he let Robin escape. Multiple times, technically. We have seen him go out of his way to literally act against the world government and Marines' interests, to do the right thing. He is on the good side. Of course, we don't know what he's currently doing with Blackbeard. There's a number of theories, but I definitely, especially after the reveal that Saul is still alive, I definitely believe that Garp is fine. Garp is definitely going to be okay, 100%. There's no question about it. I think Kuzan saved him by freezing him like he did. I think Kuzan was protecting him. But that's for an argument for a different day. But yeah, I think Kuzan is true actual justice. And then again, Kizaru Borsellino is right in the middle. He's more of lazy justice. He just doesn't want to argue. He doesn't feel like he has a chance to do anything. So he just goes with the flow. He does what he's told like a loyal little lapdog, and he doesn't fight against it. But we see that it affects him. We see that he doesn't like to do that. We see the two different sides fighting for control. And I think it might reach a boiling point at some point. I think Kizaru could possibly turn against the world government. Now, whether that ends up making him a true ally to the Straw Hats or not is to be seen. Whether he ends up fully siding with them, who knows? But I do genuinely believe he will turn against the world government. I think him even yelling at Sakazuki here is evidence of that. I don't know when it will happen, why it will happen, but I believe it will happen. And on top of that, with this episode, we don't actually get to see a couple of things. We do get to see Vivi getting snappy with Big News Morgans, which is great, fantastic. But one thing we didn't follow up on from last episode is Saturn, because Saturn is still on Egghead. He was approaching and looking at Emmett, probably because of Joy Boy's Color of the Supreme King. But we didn't follow up on that at all, and we didn't see the other Gorosei in this episode at all either. This episode, it mentioned them, but we didn't see any of that. Which is interesting to me, because I wonder why? Are we just not going to follow up on that yet? Maybe we won't get any answers with that until, some points in the Elbaf arc. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. We have one episode left, so there is still time. And the Straw Hats and the Giants have successfully escaped and are sailing on their way to Egghead. It's just a matter of, at this point, the fallout. I feel like the next episode is going to touch on things related to the fallout. We're probably going to check in with different characters around the world. We're probably going to, not see much of the Straw Hats next episode. That would be my wager. I don't think we're going to get much of the Straw Hats at all. I think it's going to focus more on other characters. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get any more government or world or marine character focus. We got some of that this time. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, this was another good episode, and we only have one more to go. Like I said, I'm recording them separately, so you'll be able to watch it right away, of course, whether you're watching on Patreon or YouTube. But for now, I'm gonna obviously be wearing something different. So for 11:54, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I guess we'll continue into 11:55 for you right away. For me in about a week. So let's continue on. And we are back with the episode 11:55 portion of the redirect of these afterthoughts. And we will begin with spoilers in three, two, one, now. So I want to say before anything else, I know who that was at the end. Because spoilers. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to spoil anyone who may not know, who's watching along with these. But I have been spoiled to who that is. I know that this character is coming up. I'll leave it at that. Again, I don't know details. It's like with everything else I've been spoiled on because the One Piece community sucks in that regard. I don't know a lot of details, but I do know this character is going to be in Elbaf. So there's that. But again, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to spoil anyone potentially watching. But it's cool that we got the little glimpse there, a little post-credit glimpse. I think that was smart to have a little post-credit thing because of the series going seasonal. It's like if we're going to be doing this shit, at least give us one last little thing to look forward to. So, this episode was pretty much just the final send off to Egghead, um, closing things out and preparing for Elbaf, which is what I would have expected. The only thing of note. Well, okay, there's two things. There's two things of actual note that happened in this outside of just, the aftermath of everything else. And that is the death of Saturn and replacement therein of Figureland Garling, and the the reveal that the Vegapunks are technically still alive. And let's start with the latter one. So we find out that Edison actually survived. Edison, like, even physically, never died. And he continued to enact the final stage of Stella's plan, which is to raise Punk Records into the sky. Clearly to keep it out of the world government's reach, which entirely fair. It also, with showing that 200-year flashback with how important this kind of stuff was to them, is a big loss for the government, which is good for us, of course. Unfortunately, York is still alive and under Garling's direct control, as he's the new godhead of science and all of that. So we do know that, evil Vegapunk shit can still occur. But they won't have full access to Punk Records. That's as best as we can hope. But based on what Edison and them were saying, Edison talking to their disembodied consciousnesses, it seems like they can't fully disconnect York from Punk Records. Because they were talking about her still having access and all, so I guess maybe they're just not able to. Like, maybe they made it that way so that if she's a Vegapunk, she has connection and there's not really anything they can do to stop that. Because they probably never anticipated, like, a betrayal. So, although I would argue that they probably should have, just to be safe, but it's one of those interesting reveals with the Vegapunks still having their consciousness. Even if they can't lock York out completely, they're gonna be able to make it so that she can't like access enough of it, I assume, to be able to do much of anything with it. And with the actual physical punk records being brought up to the sky, that's gonna help too. Also, did we know before that the Vegapunks were friends with the weather wizard dude? I don't remember his name. But the one that trained Nami during the time skip. It showed him briefly there. I'm like, oh, hi. It's like, you're. I mean, I guess it makes sense. He's a scientist too, but, like, I don't know. That kind of threw me off a little bit. Um, but like I said, we then had the other big part. Because of his failure to specifically capture Joy Boy and keep him from leaving Egghead, Joy Boy, quote unquote, because Emu, like Emmett, is kind of conflating the two. Um, it seems like Emu sees Luffy as the living reincarnation of Joy Boy, which makes sense from everything we've gathered. And so Emu is kind of just referring to him as such, rather than as Luffy. He sees him as just a another fight against his sworn enemy, rather than this new upstart. And we see that because Emu very clearly has an issue with Joy Boy, he's very, very, very pissed. Or there, I guess. We technically still don't know if Emu's a guy. They're very, very, very pissed at Saturn for um, letting Luffy go. And I guess it's specifically against Saturn because this was Saturn's mission. The other Gorosei just like came eventually to lend assistance. Hell, that might not have even been fully on Emu's order. They might have just done so like by their own desire. But this was Saturn's mission, so technically it was his failure. So Emu killing him specifically makes sense. And he already set up the replacement. Figurelin Garling makes the most sense as well. I don't see how anyone else would have made any kind of sense. Who takes over the Holy Knights, though? Because isn't Figurelin Garling in charge of the Holy Knights? I guess maybe that will be touched on. But he's now a member of the Gorosei. And that's going to be interesting because the Gorosei has stayed the same for hundreds of years. Like, even the other ones, like, seemed shaken by this. It's like, oh. They weren't going to argue, but they're like, we have to get used to a new person now? It's like, we've had the same lineup for 200 plus years, and now we have to get used to someone else sitting in these seats with us? I wonder if that actually would cause some conflict. That would be interesting. But Saturn's death is very satisfying, obviously, because of everything we learned about him throughout this arc and everything he had done to Bonnie and Kuma and all. It's very satisfying, and I was just excited and happy for it. It was pretty like dark though. Like, I assume it was pretty much the same in the manga, with like maybe some stylistic differences, probably made to be a little more stylish here, probably extended a bit. But yeah, it was very much like this horrific soul suck, basically. Which it's interesting that like Emu can do that. And I guess that's probably the only way to kill them if they're immortal otherwise. Like, you can't like injure them. You can't kill them through like cutting or stabbing or smashing or even beheading, I would assume, based on what we've seen. There has to be some way to physically kill them, though. There has to be like some very specific weak point. I'm very curious if we're going to end up finding that out at any point. But it seems like Emu can just surpass that, which also, makes Emu look scarier. The fact that they can just completely work around the immortality thing, which, they probably are behind in the first place. Because I don't know, it's the fact that all of the Gorosei have this immortality thing implies to me that it's not their devil fruits that give it to them. I have to presume that the immortality is separate. And so, my thought is that Emu somehow had the ability to give them the immortality through whatever means. Well, Emu is still a big mystery. It's possible. But Emu clearly also has the ability to not only take immortality away, but to just, kill them by, again, seemingly sucking out their souls. Which, yeah, it's like if you want to make a character intimidating, giving them the ability to suck out someone's soul will absolutely do that. I wonder, though, if there's like. I wonder if there's like restrictions to that. Because I feel like otherwise, Emu probably could have already sucked the soul out of anyone who's opposed the world government, right? So there has to be some level of restriction. I wonder if he can only do this to people he has given immortality to. Or they. I keep saying he, but again, we don't actually know yet. They're using a more masculine voice performance at the moment, even if it is like kind of masked by the voice filter. So it's like that's just kind of natural instinct, as long as I correct myself, though. But yeah, it seems like maybe they can only do this against someone that they've given the immortality to. Because this is like the only example we've seen of this. We've seen them do other horrific things, like wipe out an entire island. But that was with an ancient weapon. Why couldn't they just kill people this way? I assume they can't do it on more than one person at a time. And I'm assuming that they have their restrictions in who they can do it with. Excuse me, sorry about that. In who they can do it with. And so yeah, it seems to me like the only logical thing here is it has to be someone that they've given immortality to. This is basically just the equivalent of them taking that immortality back and all the years catching up on them. In this case, Saturn, of course. So that's a really interesting thing to think about. We got to see, at least for the moment, the closure to Bonnie and Kuma's story. There's still work to be done on this, so I don't feel like their story's completely over. But for the moment, they're for the moment, it's wrapped up what it's started in Egghead. We see that Kuma still has those echoes, those flickers of humanity to him. And we're hoping that Lilith can help save him. And I'm going to put my faith in her that she can. It might take time. It might take a lot of efforts, which is going to be difficult to accomplish considering, everything else going on. But still, I'm going to trust that she can do it. And now we're heading to Elbaf. Elbaf has been in the works since Little Garden. And ironically, Little Garden is about to show up in the live action starting in March. So we're going to have Little Garden first mentioning Elbaf in the live action. And then we're going to be starting Elbaf a month later in the anime. That timing is very clearly intentional. That's gonna be exciting for a number of reasons. But Elbaf is like something we've been waiting for most of this series now. A vast majority of it. And so I'm obviously very hyped to get to that. It's an arc that we've just built up over and over and over again. And so I have faith that it's going to live up to the hype. We know Saul is going to be there, and we're going to have that reunite, reuniting between him and Robin. We're going to see the mystery man at the end, who, again, I know who the identity of is. I worded that weirdly. But we're going to get to see that. We're going to get to see more giants. I wonder if we'll see, oh god, what was his name? From Dressrosa. Haruden? Haruden? Something like that. Because, like, that would logically fit, right? I mean, he is like from Elbaf. He is a giant warrior. We know that. That would be cool if we get to see him again. Also, just the connection of having a member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Because we haven't really touched on that enough since Dressrosa. We've seen, like, different, I guess, maybe a member or two, like Bardo. But we haven't touched on that enough. And we know it's going to come back into play, probably during the final war. But I want to see, like, I want to see more of that. Plus, it's going to be really fun to see him calling Usopp God Usopp in Elbaf. It's like there's going to be so much to that. But also him finding out that Luffy, the captain he's serving as part of the Grand Fleet, is also Nika. Because it's like Nika is the god worshipped by the giants, so it's like he probably worships Nika too, I would imagine. And we're definitely gonna see Loki. Loki was, I think, first mentioned in Whole Cake. Because I know that Big Mom mentioned Loki was the Prince of the Giants who was supposed to marry, um, oh god, what's her name? Lola. And Lola refused, and that's why Big Mom wants her dead now. That's why Big Mom and Lola had that falling out, why Lola was on Thriller Bark. Well, Lola was also on Thriller Bark because her shadow was stolen, but still. It's it's pretty crazy that there's like this much and this kind of setup. Um but yeah, I'm very very hyped to see how this continues to go and exactly what happens in Elbaf, cuz like I said, even outside of just this one character, I have heard of a couple things. I don't have context for any of them. I've talked about this before. When the One Piece community spoils me, it's like through like random things I'll see on like Twitter or whatnot. It's really quick. I usually see it just while scrolling. I don't read into it or anything. So I don't have like the deeper context. I don't know any more details. It's like, oh, I'll see that a character returns, or I'll see that a new character is talked about or shown. But I'm not gonna like have all this info on them. I'm not gonna like know who they are, like what their deal is, or any of that. So it's one of those cases. Sorry for all the yawning, by the way. It's one of those cases where I'm just very, very excited. But that marks the end of One Piece for now. Um, you've already seen the schedule for the rest of the new year going forward at the moment, so you know that One Piece isn't being replaced by anything. It's just leaving the schedule. It's just I had to get these last two episodes done, and I couldn't get them up before the year ended because of our schedule and everything. So we're getting them up at the very start of the year, but other than that, Mondays will just be Fiona and Kate going forward for now. One Piece will return in April. I've talked about I've talked about this kind of thing before, but One Piece is what I like to refer to as a priority series. And so we will get we will get to One Piece right away when it returns. Even if we have to put another show on hold. Like that will be just a priority for us. The the problem is the live action is a priority show as well. And so that's going to cause a little confusion. I mean, the live action starts earlier. So depending on like if they release two episodes a week like before, because I believe that's what they did before. I might be able to pre-record them all before the anime starts up again, because that's the thing you have to look into as well. I can with our new schedule and with being on Patreon and having things put up early on there, I can pre-record shit. And I can make sure that because of that, I can get to certain things quicker than I otherwise would. And if technically speaking, I could pre-record things for well in advance. Like if a new show started up, but I didn't have like a slot open for it, I could pre-record it and just wait until the slot does open. You know. So, um, yeah. But I guess for now we do have to close this out. We are leaving One Piece off. Egghead was a fantastic arc. I might on the Discord make like an updated arcs tier list um to showcase like how where Egghead like goes compared to my thoughts on the other arcs and everything. Um it's something I have to think about a little bit because I feel like with these last two episodes it does like add into that. But yeah, I'll probably make a tier list for that, updated with my new full rankings for the arcs. That'll be there. I don't think there's going to be much of anything else. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, please leave them down below, but no spoilers. Because while, like I said, while I do know a couple things, it's very sporadic, and I don't have all the context, so it's just best to not spoil anything. Plus, don't spoil for anyone else who might be watching and who might check out the comments. But all of that being said, thank you so, so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.